Arms gently together, place them over your eyes, and then gently wipe the face with the palms. Raise the hands over your head. Take a deep breath, release it. Bring the hands down sideways, open your eyes gently, and look at your palms and bless your Guru and bless all the people who are meditating along with you. Be blessed by the Divine.
Be blessed by the Divine. Humanity surges with uncontrolled passion, is tumultuous with ungoverned grief, is blown about by anxiety and doubt. Only the wise man, only he whose thoughts are controlled and purified, makes the winds and the storms of the soul obey him. Dear sky intellectuals, with great joy and immense exultation, I feel euphoric to extend my warm welcome to all of you present here to the Spiritual Discourse in English organized by the World Community Service Center IT team. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our inspiring Professor Krish Murali Eshwar from Bangalore as our guest of honor tonight. Professor pursued his engineering in CIT and did his executive program at Harvard Business School. He has also been graduated in astrology. Sir was initiated into the sky system by our Guru Yogiraj Sri Vethathiri Maharishi in the year 1984 and became a sky master in the year 1987. He is serving as a professor at WCSC since then. Sir has influenced many sky aspirants to form a lasting habit of sky practices in their lives. Professor Krish Murali Eshwar is currently serving for the World Community Service Center as Director of IT. Dear Sky Meditators, please join me in welcoming our Professor Krish Murali Eshwar sir to give a talk on the topic As a Man Thinketh. Be blessed by the Divine. Valga Valamudan.
வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வளமுடன். Be blessed by the Divine. Mind is the master power that molds and makes, and man is mind, and evermore he takes the tool of thought and shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret and it comes to pass. Environment is but his looking glass. I borrow with gratitude the works of James Allen. I seek the blessings of our Guru Yogiraj Sri Vethathiri Maharishi. My dear fellow spiritual partners, I intend to present my lesson. We ourselves are makers of ourselves by virtue of the thoughts which we choose and encourage. That mind is the master weaver, both of the inner garment of character and the outer garment of circumstance, and that, as we may have hitherto woven in ignorance and pain, we may now weave in enlightenment and happiness. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. It not only embraces the whole of a man's being, but is so comprehensive as to reach out to every condition and circumstance of our life. A man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. As the plant springs from and could not be without the seed, so every act of a man springs from the hidden seeds of thought and could not have appeared without them. Act is the blossom of thought, and joy and suffering are its fruits. Thus does a man garner in the sweet and bitter fruitage of his own husbandry. Thought in the mind has made us. What we are by thought was wrought and built. If a man's mind has evil thoughts, pain comes on him, as comes the wheel, the ox behind. If one endure in purity of thought, joy follows him as his own shadow sure. Man is a growth by law, and not a creation by artifice. And cause and effect is as absolute and undeviating in the hidden realm of thought as in the world of visible and material things. A noble and godlike character is not a thing of favor or chance, but is the natural result of continued effort in right thinking, the effect of long-cherished association with godlike thoughts. An ignoble and bestial character, by the same process, is the result of the continued harboring of groveling thoughts. Man is made or unmade by himself. In the armory of thought, he forges the weapons by which he destroys himself. He also fashions the tools with which he builds for himself heavenly mansions of joy and strength and peace. By the right choice and true application of thought, man ascends to the divine perfection. By the abuse and wrong application of thought, he descends below the level of the beast. Between those two extremes are the grades of character, and man is their maker and master. Of all the beautiful truths pertaining to the soul, which have been restored and brought to light in this age, none is more gladdening or fruitful of divine promise and confidence than this, my friend, that man is the master of thought, the molder of character, and the maker and shaper of condition, environment, and destiny. As a being of power, intelligence, and love, and the lord of his own thoughts, man holds the key to every situation, and contains within himself the transforming and regenerative agency by which he may make himself what he wills. Man is always the master, even in his weaker and most abandoned state. But in his weakness and degradation, he is the foolish master who misgoverns his household. When he begins to reflect upon his condition and to search diligently for the law upon which his being is established, he then becomes the wise master, directing his energies with intelligence and fashioning his thoughts to fruitful issues. Such is the conscious master, which our Swamiji called as conscientious consciousness. And man can only thus become by discovering within himself the laws of thought, which discovery is totally a matter of application, self-analysis, and experience. Only by much searching and mining are gold and diamonds obtained, and man can find every truth connected with his being, if he will dig deep into the mine of his soul. And that he is the maker of his character, the molder of his life, the builder of his destiny. He may unerringly prove if he will watch, control, and alter his thoughts, tracing their effects upon himself, upon others, and upon his life and circumstances, linking cause and effect by patient practice and investigation, and utilizing his every experience, even to the most trivial everyday occurrence, as a means of obtaining that knowledge of himself which is understanding, wisdom, and power. Didn't our Swamiji always say that you cannot control your mind, you can only understand it? Therein comes your wisdom and power. In this direction, as in no other, is the law absolute, that he that seeks finds, and to whom that knocks it shall be opened. For only by patience, practice, and ceaseless importunity can a man enter the door of the temple of knowledge. The other end of our mind is almighty force. Man's mind may be likened to a garden, which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild. But whether cultivated or neglected, it must and will bring forth. If no useful seeds are put into it, then an abundance of useless weed seeds will fall therein and will continue to produce their kind. Just as a gardener cultivates his plot, keeping it free from weeds and growing the flowers and fruits which he requires, so may a man tend the garden of his mind, weeding out all the wrong, useless, and impure thoughts, and cultivating towards perfection the flowers and fruits of right, useful, and pure thoughts. By pursuing this process, a man sooner or later discovers that he is the master gardener of his soul, the director of his life. He also reveals within himself the laws of thought and understands with ever-increasing accuracy how the thought forces and mind elements operate in the shaping of his character, circumstances, and destiny. We are the master of our own destiny, our Swamiji always used to assure us. Thought and character are one, and as character can only manifest and discover itself through environment and circumstances, the outer conditions of a person's life will always be found to be harmoniously related to his inner state. This does not mean that a man's circumstance at any given time are an indication of his entire character. No, it is not, but that those circumstances are so intimately connected with some vital thought element within himself that for the time being they are indispensable to his development. Every man is where he is by the law of his being. Thoughts which he has built into his character have brought him there. And in the arrangement of his life, there is no element of chance, but all is the result of a law which cannot err. This is just as true of those who feel out of harmony with their surroundings as of those who are contented with them. As a progressive and evolving being, man is where he is, that he may learn, that he may grow. And as he learns the spiritual lesson which any circumstance contains for him, it passes away and gives place to other circumstances. Like Swamiji used to say, we must remain a spectator to what is happening outside of us. Man is buffeted by circumstances so long as he believes himself to be the creature of outside conditions. But when he realizes that he is a creative power and that he may command the hidden soil and seeds of his being out of which circumstances grow, he then becomes the rightful master of himself. That circumstances grow out of thought every man knows who has for any length of time practiced self-control and self-purification, for he will have noticed that the alteration in his circumstances has been in exact ratio with his altered mental condition. So true is this that when a man earnestly applies himself to remedy the defects in his character and makes swift and marked progress, he passes rapidly through a succession of vicissitudes. The soul attracts that which it secretly harbors, that which it loves, also that which it fears. It reaches the height of its cherished aspirations. It falls to the level of its unchastened desires, and circumstances are the means by which the soul receives its own. Be careful about what you desire. Be careful about what you think, because what you think, what you desire will become true, will become manifest in your life. Moralize your desires, analyze your thoughts, develop positive thoughts. Our Swamiji always used to tell us, every thought seed sown or allowed to fall into the mind or to take root there produces its own, blossoming sooner or later into act and bearing its fruitage of opportunity and circumstance. Good thoughts bear good fruit, bad thoughts bad fruit. The outer world of circumstance shapes itself to the inner world of thought, and both pleasant and unpleasant external conditions are factors which make for the ultimate good of the individual. As the reaper of his own harvest, man learns both by suffering and bliss. Following the inmost desires, aspirations, and thoughts by which he allows himself to be dominated, a man at last arrives at their fruition and fulfillment in the outer conditions of his life. A man does not come to the almshouse or the jail by the tyranny of fate or circumstance, but by the pathway of groveling thoughts and base desires. Nor does a pure-minded man fall suddenly into crime by stress of any mere external force. The criminal thought had long been secretly fostered in the heart, and the hour of opportunity revealed its gathered power. Circumstance does not make the man, it reveals him to himself. No such conditions can exist as descending into vice and its attendant suffering apart from vicious inclinations, or ascending into virtue and its pure happiness without the continued cultivation of virtuous aspirations. And dear friend, therefore, as the Lord and Master of thought, you are the maker of yourself, the shaper and author of your environment. Even at birth, the soul comes to its own, and through every step of its earthly pilgrimage, it attracts those combinations of conditions which reveal itself, which are the reflections of its own purity and impurity, its strength and weakness. Men do not attract that which they want, but that which they are. Their whims, fancies, and ambitions are thwarted at every step, but their inmost thoughts and desires are fed with their own food, be it foul or clean. The divinity that shapes our ends is in ourselves, it is our very self. Only himself manacles man. Thought and action are the gaolers of fate, they imprison, being base. They are also the angels of freedom, they liberate, being noble. Not what he wishes and prays for does a man get, but what he justly earns. His wishes and prayers are only gratified and answered when they harmonize with his thoughts and actions. The Almighty Force is waiting to collaborate with you. As long as your thoughts and wishes are in alignment with God's will. Hasn't it helped our Swamiji succeed in his life? In the light of this truth, what then is the meaning of fighting against circumstances? It means that a man is continually revolting against an effect without, while all the time he is nourishing and preserving its cause in his heart. That cause may take the form of a conscious vice or an unconscious weakness, but whatever it is, it stubbornly retards the efforts of its possessor and thus calls aloud for remedy. Men are anxious to improve their circumstances, but are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. The man who does not shrink from self-crucifixion can never fail to accomplish the object upon which his heart is set. This is as true of earthly as of heavenly things. Even the man whose sole object is to acquire wealth must be prepared to make great personal sacrifices before he can accomplish his object. And how much more so he who would realize a strong and well-poised life. Here is a man who is wretchedly poor. He is extremely anxious that his surroundings and home comfort should be improved. Yet all the time he shirks his work and considers he is justified in trying to deceive his employer on the ground of the insufficiency of his wages. Such a man does not understand the simplest rudiments of those principles which are the basis of true prosperity, and is not only totally unfitted to rise out of his wretchedness, but is actually attracting to himself a still deeper wretchedness by dwelling in and acting out indolent, deceptive, and unmanly thoughts. Here is a rich man who is a victim of a painful and persistent disease as the result of gluttony. He is willing to give large sums of money to get rid of it, but he will not sacrifice his gluttonous desires. He wants to gratify his taste for rich and unnatural viands and have his health as well. Such a man is totally unfit to have health because he has not yet learned the first principles of a healthy life. Here is an employer of labor who adopts crooked measures to avoid paying the regulation wage, and in the hope of making large profits, reduces the wages of his work people. Such a man is altogether unfitted for prosperity, and when he finds himself bankrupt, both as regards reputation and riches, he blames circumstances, not knowing that he is the sole author of his condition. Our Swamiji has always told us that we are the creator of our problems and our success. Our sin imprints, our karma has made us what we are today. We have discussed 3 cases as illustrative of the truth that man is the causer, though dearly always is unconsciously of his circumstances, and that, whilst aiming at a good end, he is continually frustrating its accomplishment by encouraging thoughts and desires which cannot possibly harmonize with that end. Such cases could be multiplied and varied almost indefinitely, but that is not necessary, as my dear friend, you can, if you so resolve, trace the action of the laws of thought in your own mind and life, and until this is done, mere external facts cannot serve as a ground of reasoning. Circumstances, however, are so complicated, thought is so deeply rooted, and the conditions of happiness vary so vastly with individuals that a man's entire soul condition, although it may be known to himself, cannot be judged by another from the external aspect of his life alone. A man may be honest in certain directions, yet suffer privations. A man may be dishonest in certain directions, yet acquire wealth. But the conclusion usually formed that the one man fails because of his particular honesty and that the other prospers because of a particular dishonesty is the result of a superficial judgment, which assumes that the dishonest man is almost totally corrupt and the honest man almost entirely virtuous. In the light of a deeper knowledge and wider experience, such judgment is found to be erroneous. The dishonest man may have some admirable virtues which the other does not possess, the honest man obnoxious vices which are absent on the other. The honest man reaps the good results of his honest thoughts and acts. He also brings upon himself the sufferings which his vices produce. The dishonest man likewise garners his own suffering and happiness. It is pleasing to human vanity to believe that one suffers because of one's virtue. But not until a man has extirpated every sickly, bitter and impure thought from his mind and washed every sinful stain from his soul can he be in a position to know and declare that his suffering are the result of his good and not of his bad qualities. And on the way to, yet long before he has reached that supreme perfection, he will have found, working in his mind and life, the great law which is absolutely just and which cannot, therefore, give good for evil, evil for good. Possessed with such knowledge, he will then know, looking back upon his past ignorance and blindness, that his life is and always was justly ordered, and that all his past experiences, good and bad, were the equitable outworking of his evolving yet unevolved self. The universe functions with pattern, precision, and regularity. Every action of ours gives precise results in the course of time. Good thoughts and actions can never produce bad results. Bad thoughts and actions can never produce good results. This is but saying that nothing can come from corn but corn, nothing from nettles but nettles. Men understand this law in the natural world and work with it, but few understand it in the mental and moral world, though its operation there is just as simple and undeviating, and they therefore do not cooperate with it. Suffering is always the effect of wrong thought in some direction. It is an indication that the individual is out of harmony with himself, with the law of his being. The sole and supreme use of suffering is to purify, to burn out all that is useless and impure. Suffering ceases for him who is pure. There could be no object in burning gold after the dross has been removed, and a perfectly pure and enlightened being could not suffer. Swamiji had problems, but did he suffer? I don't think so. The circumstances which a man encounters with suffering are the result of his own mental inharmony. The circumstances which a man encounters with blessedness are the result of his own mental harmony. Blessedness, not material possessions, is the measure of right thought. Wretchedness, not lack of material possessions, is the measure of wrong thought. A man may be cursed and rich, he may be blessed and poor. Blessedness and riches are only joined together when the riches are rightly and wisely used. And the poor man only descends to wretchedness when he regards his lot as a burden unjustly imposed. Indigence and indulgence are the two extremes of wretchedness. They are both equally unnatural and the result of mental disorder. A man is not rightly conditioned until he is a happy, healthy, and prosperous being. And happiness, health, and prosperity are the result of a harmonious adjustment of the inner with the outer, of the man with his surroundings. A man only begins to be a man when he ceases to whine and revile, and commences to search for the hidden justice which regulates his life. And as he adapts his mind to that regulating factor, he ceases to accuse others as the cause of his condition, and builds himself up in strong and noble thoughts, ceases to kick against circumstances, but begins to use them as aids in his more rapid progress, and as a means of discovering the hidden powers and possibilities within himself. Law, not confusion, is the dominating principle in the world and in the universe. Justice, not injustice, is the soul and substance of life. and righteousness, not corruption, is the molding and moving force in the spiritual government of the world. This being so, man has but to right himself to find that the universe is right. And during the process of putting himself right, he will find that as he alters his thoughts towards things and other people will alter towards him. The proof of this truth is in every person, and it therefore admits of easy investigation by systematic introspection and self-analysis and meditation. Such a powerful self-analysis, introspection, meditation is our simplified Kundalini Yoga system. Let a man radically alter his thoughts, and he will be astonished at the rapid transformation it will affect in the material conditions of his life. Men imagine that thought can be kept secret, but it cannot. It rapidly crystallizes into habit, and habit solidifies into circumstance. Bestial thoughts crystallize into habits of drunkenness and sensuality, which solidify into circumstances of destitution and disease. Impure thoughts of every kind crystallize into enervating and confusing habits, which solidify into distracting and adverse circumstances. Thoughts of fear, doubt, and indecision crystallize into weak, unmanly, and irresolute habits, which solidify into circumstances of failure, indigence, and slavish dependence. Lazy thoughts crystallize into habits of uncleanliness and dishonesty, which solidify into circumstances of foulness and beggary. Hateful and condemnatory thoughts crystallize into habits of acquisition and violence, which solidify into circumstances of injury and persecution. Selfish thoughts of all kinds crystallize into habits of self-seeking, which solidify into circumstances more or less distressing. On the other hand, beautiful thoughts of all kinds crystallize into habits of grace and kindliness, which solidify into genial and sunny circumstances. Pure thoughts crystallize into habits of temperance and self-control, which solidify into circumstances of repose and peace. Thoughts of courage, self-reliance, and decision crystallize into manly habits, which solidify into circumstances of success, plenty, and freedom. Energetic thoughts crystallize into habits of cleanliness and industry, which solidify into circumstances of pleasantness. Gentle and forgiving thoughts crystallize into habits of gentleness, which solidify into protective and preservative circumstances. Loving and unselfish thoughts crystallize into habits of self-forgetfulness for others, which solidify into circumstances of sure and abiding prosperity and true riches. In my opinion, Swamiji was the richest human being I have ever met in my life. He enjoyed true prosperity and love. What else can you call as richness? Particular train of thought persisted in, be it good or bad, cannot fail to produce its results on the character and circumstances. A man cannot directly choose his circumstances, but he can choose his thoughts, and so indirectly yet surely shape his circumstances. That's the secret for us, my friends. You choose your thoughts, you create your circumstances. Don't blame the circumstances for your problems. Hold your thoughts accountable. Nature helps every man to the gratification of the thoughts which he most encourages, and opportunities are presented which will most speedily bring to the surface both the good and evil thoughts. Let a man cease from his sinful thoughts, and all the world will soften towards him and be ready to help him. Let him put away his weakly and sickly thoughts, and lo, opportunities will spring up on every hand to aid his strong resolves. Let him encourage good thoughts, and no hard fate shall bind him down to wretchedness and shame. The world is your kaleidoscope, and the varying combination of colors which at every succeeding moment it presents to you are the exquisitely adjusted pictures of your ever-moving thoughts. So you will be what you will to be. Let failure find its false content in that poor word environment, but spirit scorns it and is free. It masters time, it conquers space, it cows that boastful trickster chance, and bids the tyrant circumstance uncrown and fill a servant's place. The human will, that force unseen, the spring of a deathless soul, can hew a way to any goal, though walls of granite intervene. Be not impatient in delays, but wait as one who understands. When spirit rises and commands, the gods are ready to obey. Dear friend, the body is the servant of the mind. It obeys the operations of the mind, whether they are deliberately chosen or automatically expressed. At the bidding of unlawful thoughts, the body sinks rapidly into disease and decay. At the command of glad and beautiful thoughts, it becomes clothed with youthfulness and beauty. Disease and health, like circumstances, are rooted in thought. Sickly thoughts will express themselves through a sickly body. Thoughts of fear have been known to kill a man as speedily as a bullet, but they are continually killing thousands of people just as surely, though less rapidly. The people who live in fear of disease are the people who get it. Anxiety quickly demoralizes the entire body and lays it open to the entrance of disease, while impure thoughts, even if not physically indulged, will soon shatter the nervous system. Strong, pure, and happy thoughts build up the body in vigor and grace. The body is a delicate and plastic instrument which responds readily to the thoughts by which it is impressed, and habits of thought will produce its own effects, good or bad, upon it. Men will continue to have impure and poisoned blood so long as they propagate unclean thoughts. Out of a clean heart comes a clean life and a clean body. Out of a defiled mind proceeds a defiled life and a corrupt body. Thought is the fount of action, life, and manifestation. Make the fountain pure, and all will be pure. Change of diet will not help a man who will not change his thoughts. When a man makes his thoughts pure, he no longer desires impure food. Clean thoughts make clean habits. The so-called saint who does not wash his body is not a saint. He who has strengthened and purified his thoughts does not need to consider the malevolent microbe. If you would protect your body, guard your mind. If you would renew your body, beautify your mind, thoughts of malice, envy, disappointment, despondency rob the body of its health and grace. A sore face does not come by chance. It is made by sore thoughts. Wrinkles that mar are drawn by folly, passion, and pride. A woman of 96 may have the bright, innocent face of a girl. A man well under middle age may have the face that is drawn into inharmonious contours. The one is the result of a sweet and sunny disposition. The other is the outcome of passion and discontent. As you cannot have a sweet and wholesome abode unless you admit the air and sunshine freely into your rooms, so a strong body and a bright, happy, or serene countenance can only result from the free admittance into the mind of thoughts of joy and goodwill and serenity. On the faces of the aged there are wrinkles made by sympathy, others by strong and pure thought, and others are carved by passion. Who cannot distinguish them? With those who have lived righteously, age is calm, peaceful, and softly mellowed like the setting sun. Some of us have seen our Swamiji on his deathbed. He was not old except in years. He died as sweetly and peacefully as he had lived. There is no physician like cheerful thought for dissipating the ills of the body. There is no comforter to compare with goodwill for dispersing the shadows of grief and sorrow. To live continually in thoughts of ill will, cynicism, suspicion, and envy is to be confined in a self-made prison hole. But to think well of all, to be cheerful with all, to patiently learn to find the good in all, such unselfish thoughts are the very portals of heaven. And to dwell day by day in thoughts of peace towards every creature will bring abounding peace to their possessor. Our Swamiji dwelled on peace every second of his life. Long after his mortal body has vanished, we still prize peace as our greatest gift from him, is it not? Until thought is linked with purpose, there is no intelligent accomplishment. With the majority, the bark of thought is allowed to drift upon the ocean of life. Aimlessness is a vice, and such drifting must not continue for him who would steer clear of catastrophe and destruction. Those who have no central purpose in life fall an easy prey to petty worries, fears, troubles, and self-pityings, all of which are indications of weakness, which lead just as surely as deliberately planned sins, though by a different route, to failure, unhappiness, and loss, for weakness cannot persist in a power-evolving universe. A man should conceive of a legitimate purpose in his heart and set out to accomplish it, just like our Swamiji, whose dream was to achieve world peace through individual peace. He should make this purpose the centralizing point of his thoughts. It may take the form of a spiritual ideal, and it may be a worldly object according to his nature at the time being, but whichever it is, he should steadily focus his thought forces upon the object which he has set before him. He should make his purpose his supreme duty and should devote himself to its attainment, not allowing his thoughts to wander away into ephemeral fancies, longings, and imaginings. This is the royal road to self-control and true concentration of thought. Even if he fails again and again to accomplish his purpose, as he necessarily must until weaknesses is overcome, the strength of character gained will be the measure of his true success, and this will form a new starting point for future power and triumph. Those who are not prepared for the apprehension of a great purpose should fix the thoughts upon the faultless performance of their duty, no matter how insignificant their task may appear. Only in this way can the thoughts be gathered and focused, and resolution and energy be developed, which being one, there is nothing which may not be accomplished. The weakest soul, knowing its own weakness and believing this truth that strength can only be developed by effort and practice, will, thus believing, at once begin to exert itself, and adding effort to effort, patience to patience, strength to strength, will never cease to develop and will at last grow divinely strong. All that you have achieved in your life and all that you have failed to achieve is the direct result of your own thoughts. In a justly ordered universe where loss of equipoise would mean total destruction, individual responsibility must be absolute. A man's weakness and strength, purity and impurity are his own and not another man's. They are brought about by himself, not by others, and they can only be altered by himself, never by another. His condition is also his own and not another man's. His suffering and his happiness are evolved from within. As he thinks, so he is. As he continues to think, so he remains. A man can only raise, conquer, and achieve by lifting up his thoughts. He can only remain weak and abject and miserable by refusing to lift up his thoughts. Before a man can achieve anything, even in worldly things, he must lift his thoughts above slavish animal indulgence. He may not, in order to succeed, give up all animality and selfishness by any means, but a portion of it he must, at least, be sacrificed. A man whose first thought is bestial indulgence could never think clearly or plan methodically. He could not find and develop his latent resources and would fail in any undertaking. Not having commenced to manfully control his thoughts, he is not in a position to control affairs and to adopt serious responsibilities. He is not fit to act independently and stand alone, but he is limited only by the thoughts which he chooses. There can be no progress, no achievement without sacrifice, and a man's worldly success will be in the measure that he sacrifices his confused animal thoughts and fixes his mind on the development of his plans and the strengthening of his resolution and self-reliance. And the higher he lifts his thoughts, the more manly, upright, and righteous he becomes, the greater will be his success, the more blessed and enduring will be his achievements. The universe does not favor the greedy, the dishonest, the vicious, although on the mere surface it may appear sometimes to do so. It helps the honest, the magnanimous, the virtuous. Our great teacher, Yogiraj Sri Vethathiri Maharishi, has declared this in varying forms, and to prove and to know it, a man has but to persist in making himself more and more virtuous by lifting up his thoughts. He has left his own life as an example for us. Swamiji's spiritual achievements are the consummation of holy aspirations. He has lived constantly in the conception of noble and lofty thoughts. He has dwelled upon all that is pure and unselfish. He has surely as the sun has reached its zenith and the moon its full, he has become wise and noble in character and has risen into a position of influence and blessedness. Dear friends, we should take him as our role model. Achievement of whatever kind is the crown of effort, the diadem of thought. By the aid of self-control, resolution, purity, righteousness, and well-directed thought, a man ascends. By the aid of animality, indolence, impurity, corruption, and confusion of thought, a man descends. A man may rise to high success in the world and even to lofty altitudes in the spiritual realm, and again descend into weakness and wretchedness by allowing arrogant, selfish, and corrupt thoughts to take possession of him. Victories attained by right thought can only be maintained by watchfulness, consciousness. Therefore, we need a practice to increase our consciousness within us. Such a practice is our Kundalini meditation practice. Those who do not practice this give way when success is assured and rapidly fall back into failure. All achievements, whether in the business, intellectual, or spiritual world, are the result of definitely directed thought, are governed by the same law or of the same method. The only difference lies in the object of attainment. He who would accomplish little must sacrifice little. He who would achieve much must sacrifice much. He who would attain highly must sacrifice greatly. Dream, we must dream. We must dream for the world. The dreamers are the saviors of the world. As the visible world is sustained by the invisible, so men, through all their trials and sins and sordid vocations, are nourished by the beautiful visions of their solitary dreamers. Humanity cannot forget its dreamers. It cannot let their ideals fade and die. It lives in them. It knows them as the realities which it shall one day see and know. Composer, sculptor, painter, poet, prophet, sage, these are the makers of the afterworld, the architects of heaven. One such prophet who has created a heaven within us, who has shown the heaven inside us, is our Guru Yogiraj Sri Vethathiri Maharishi. The world, our world today is beautiful because our Swamiji has lived in it. Swamiji has cherished a beautiful vision, a lofty ideal in his heart. The world will realize it one day. Columbus cherished a vision of another world and he discovered it. Copernicus fostered the vision of a multiplicity of worlds and a wider universe and revealed it. Vethathiri Maharishi beheld the vision of a spiritual world of stainless beauty and perfect peace and he entered into it. Let us cherish his vision. Let us cherish his ideals. Cherish the music that stirs in our heart, the beauty that forms in our mind, the loveliness that drapes in our purest thoughts. For out of them will grow all delightful conditions, all heavenly environment. Of these, if you but remain true to them, our world will at last be built. Dear friends, Swamiji is not living outside of us, he is within us. Tempest-tossed souls, wherever you may be, under whatsoever conditions you may live, know this: in the ocean of life, the islets of blessedness are smiling. The sunny shore of your ideal awaits your coming. Keep your hand firmly upon the hem of thought. In the bark of your soul reclines the commanding master. He does but sleep. Wake him. Self-control is strength. Right thought is mastery. Calmness is power. Say unto your heart, peace, peace, peace. Be blessed by the divine. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you for being an inspiration for me to do what I am doing.
Be blessed by the divine. Unself thoughts are the very portals of the heaven. Man is the master of the thought, the moulder of character, and the maker and the sharper of condition, environment, and destiny. Very well explained, sir. Mind is a psychic extension of the life force. Mind is nothing but the biomagnetic waves arising due to the continuous rotation of the life force particles. It's working as the center, which is called the genetic center of all the living beings. Very well explained about the thought force, sir. Thank you so much. On behalf of the listeners, we thank you, sir, for your wonderful and inspiring speech. Now the forum is open for discussion and questions. Please click on the raise hand button in your Zoom app to raise your questions to our professor. While you are preparing for your questions, we have a couple of important announcements to be made. Please emphasize all your near and dear ones to learn and practice Kaya Kalpa Yoga. You can easily learn Kaya Kalpa Yoga from your home by visiting the website kayakalpayoga.edu.in or by downloading the Android application. Our monthly journal Anboli is also available in the Android app. Get access to the premium content of our Guru Yogiraj Sri Vethathiri Maharishi's speeches at a nominal subscription. Connect with us on Facebook and YouTube at Sky Yoga TV to listen to all the past speeches of our beloved professors for free. Karma Yoga principles of Vedatrium suggest donating 1% of your income to the good causes of the society. As some of you are aware, these donations are not expenditures, but they are investments. You get more than what you pay as good karma. We invite you to donate to the World Community Service Center either through the Anboli app or through our official website vethathiri.edu.in. Section 80G exemptions are available for these donations. Now we will start with the question answer session. We request the participants to stick to the question directly to our professor. Thank you. Valga Valam. Suresh, you can ask your question, sir. Please unmute by yourself.
Yeah, Valavaman, sir. A very wonderful speech. I have a general question. Can I ask now?
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, myself, I have completed a diploma in yoga. My question here is, my mother is facing a problem like physical health problem. We had gone through a physiotherapist and they had suggested to wear a belt for the neck, and she is unable to turn the neck and take much weight in the hands. Apart from the hand exercises, what are the physical or Maharishi exercises she can do?
So best is to go to a doctor and take guidance. If you're in Coimbatore, there is a doctor called Dr. Subramaniam. He's on near Vadavalli on Mardamalai Road. Perhaps you can talk to him. He's a naturopath. Otherwise, since it's a neck-related problem, please go to a physiotherapist or go to a neck specialist. He may be able to guide you. I'm not a specialist in that, sir. Sorry, I'm not able to help you.
Be blessed. Jai Kumari, you can ask your question. Please unmute by yourself, ma'am. Jai Kumari, we request you to unmute yourself and ask the question.
Sir, Valga Valamadan, sir. Sir, I'm Darshak from Osur, sir.
Go ahead.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir. When a man asks what you ate at morning, we are thinking for 10 and 5 minutes, 5 seconds, and telling that we ate idli dosa, sir. Why, sir?
I don't understand your question. What is your problem?
Sir, no, sir. When a man is asking to another man that what you ate at morning, sir.
I think it's quite an irrelevant question. I don't understand the meaning of this question at all. Let's go to the next question, please.
Be blessed. Jai Prakash, you can ask your question. Please unmute by yourself, sir.
Sir,
வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
most of the conflicts in human life begin and develop from disappointments in one's own expectations. How to overcome it, sir?
Hey, you have answered your own question. If you drop expectations, the disappointment will go.
Thank you very much, sir.
வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
Yeah.
Suresh, you have any other question?
Yes, I have one more question, sir.
Go ahead.
Our Swamiji has designed Panchabhuta Navgraha to get away all the ill effects of from planets, and we do it to get the good effects from them. My doubt here is that we, like normally, people from birth they believe in horoscope and the time of birth, and for keeping names they believe in numerology, and in all the important decisions they make in their life they believe in their tech decisions. Should we believe on that, or we can do meditation and take positive of that? Can you please suggest, sir?
I have made a 45 minutes video on this topic. I have proven with facts and my own little research that Swamiji has been able to modify the effects of the planets to suit his will to live long. He left the mortal body at a time when there was absolutely no way to predict that he was going to die. So therefore, we should go with what experience Swamiji has had in his life and what he has shown to us, that meditation indeed is far more superior to any of this astrological remedies or numerological remedies. And by the way, Swamiji was an astrologer, was a numerologist also. Every name that he kept for people, I have seen in his own diary his numerology study. And yet he recommended meditation as a powerful remedy for all problems in life. We should trust it.
Be blessed. Geeta Bai, you can ask your question. Madam, please unmute yourself, ma'am.
Can you hear me, sir?
Please
Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
please.
Hello. ಬಾಳ್ಗೆ
You can-
ಸಮೃದ್ಧಿ ಅಂತೀನಿ ಸರ್.
வாழ்க வளமுடன். Go ahead, please. I can hear you.
Sir, such a wonderful explanation to like get through all the proper results, what and all we have aimed for. Will this like time duration of meditation is enough, sir?
The mind has to change. For the mind to change, willpower is required. Meditation improves the willpower. Unless the mind changes, the circumstances will not change. Unless the circumstances change, results cannot be enjoyed by you. So, in order to change your life, in order to see all your desires manifest in reality, you must change your mindset. If there are people who are causing pain for you, look inside you. You are harboring painful thoughts in your mind. If you are suffering from diseases, you are having ill thoughts, diseased thoughts in your mind. You are encouraging such thoughts. If someone else is treating you like a slave, you are harboring slavish thoughts. You are perhaps addicted to certain thoughts in your mind. Get rid of that addiction and your freedom will automatically come. The world outside is a reflection of the world inside you. Time is the characteristic of the primordial force. So when you are ready, things will manifest in real life. Until then, you have to do your duty and you have to remain cheerful and positive and continue to meditate, introspect, and get rid of sins, illusions, and your ego. Certainly, results will come. வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
வாழ்க வளமுடன். Thank you, sir. Uma Shankar, you can ask your question.
Sir.
வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
Sir, I got the answer for my question in your previous this thing only, but still, just since I raised the question, see, as you are mentioning that whether the evil thought or the good thought based on our manifestation, and we should try to control by meditation and all. Agree. But my question is, if somebody is having cursing you or having like scolding you or whenever this thing, so that will naturally produce a negative effects on us. So that will almost contribute to our negative thoughts. Anyway, I got an answer in your previous this thing only, but as per meditation and all we should do. But my question is, constantly if they are cursing or scolding and all, no, so that will feel little disturbed. So that is what my this thing.
Nobody is your enemy. We have only inimical forces which come to teach us lessons. And such forces find a passenger. Such a passenger is whom you like to call as your enemy. But really, if you look at it, that man or that woman is perhaps suffering on your behalf. Nobody likes to hurt another human being. And if they are hurting you, they are probably deeply hurting themselves as well. So our duty is to bless them and see what lesson we can learn out of that experience and internalize that lesson and become stronger and better human being and bless all the people who are involved in this particular situation, and that they should all find peace, prosperity, and harmony. In the due course of time, the hurt will go, the pain will disappear, and the enemy will become your best friend. வாழ்க வளமுடன். Keep blessing.
Be blessed. Mariappan, sir. Mariappan, sir, please unmute yourself.
ஐயா வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
எப்பொழுதுங்க ஐயா நம்மளோட வேதாத்திரிய வேர்ல்டு நிச்சயமா அமையும்?
It has already come. It is in your mind, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You set an example for your children.
Wow.
They will then set an example for other people, and eventually the whole world will become a Vethathirian world for sure. வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
வாழ்க வளமுடன். Thank you, sir, for answering our questions and sharing your divine insights with us. Blessing is an act or prayer of one who blesses. Blessings have the potential to cleanse the personality and reinforces the positive attitude by creating quivering in the biomagnetic waves. Dear sky meditators, let us all put our minds together to bless our professor. Please come to meditative state by focusing your mind on the Durya Chakra. Professor Krish Murali Eshwar, be blessed by the divine. His good health, be blessed by the divine. His loving family, be blessed by the divine. May his knowledge and divine service spread to the entire humanity. Be blessed by the divine.